So, in New Mexico, it's actually a matter of strict state law that local county clerks have to independently verify every single election ballot.
Right.
Like they have to physically check the math and produce a localized certified report of the election.
Exactly. That's the statute.
But according to this massive stack of internal emails and state training documents and sworn citizen affidavits that we're looking at today, they aren't doing that at all.
Not even close.
Instead, clerks are reportedly uploading raw voting data into this uncertified internet-connected cloud portal.
Yeah.
And they're basically just letting a centralized state software system do all the math for them.
Which is a huge shift. I mean, the disparity between what the legal blueprint demands and what the administrative reality actually looks like on the ground. It's pretty stark.
It really is.
We are looking at this fundamental shift in how the final tally of a democratic election is constructed. Moving from a localized manual verification process to this centralized digital black box.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are unpacking the actual mechanics of democracy. Specifically, we're exploring the election canvass process in New Mexico.
Right.
We are going to decode the role of this centralized software platform. It's known as Service. And we'll examine how the shift to these voting convenience centers completely altered the landscape. Plus, we're going to understand why citizens are raising alarms about transparency and, well, the erosion of local control.
That's a lot to cover.
We've got a really dense stack of sources today for you. We've got state statutes, public meeting transcripts, investigative reports, and, like I mentioned, those internal state emails.
But before we go any further, we really need to offer a vital disclaimer here.
Yes, absolutely.
The source materials we are examining today, they contain highly politically charged allegations regarding election integrity.
Right.
They mention specific political parties, specific politicians, and they make these really sweeping claims about the security of the voting process overall.
So we want to emphasize to you, the listener, that we are not taking sides here.
Not at all.
We are not endorsing the viewpoints or the political leanings or the ultimate conclusions of the authors of these investigative reports, or the citizens filing these affidavits, for that matter.
Right. Our sole role today is to just impartially report on this. We're here to unpack and convey the ideas and facts exactly as they're presented in this original source material.
Exactly. We are just here to serve as your guides through the documentation.
So, to really understand the conflict presented in these documents, I think we have to start with the statutory baseline.
The blueprint, basically.
The blueprint of how a New Mexico election is legally required to be finalized.
So let's look at the law itself. The sources point really heavily to the New Mexico state statute. Specifically, it's section 1231.f.
Right.
And when you strip away the dense legalese, the wording here actually leaves like zero wiggle room.
It's very specific.
It places the burden of the canvass entirely on the shoulders of the local county clerk. And just for context for you listening, the canvass is the official final accounting of the election. Yeah, it's the definitive audit before the results are locked in and certified.
Right. So the statute actually mandates that the county clerk shall, quote, prepare the report of the canvass of the election returns by carefully examining the returns of each precinct.
Carefully examining.
Yeah. And the law goes further, requiring the clerk to verify that the returns contain properly executed certificates and to actively check for any discrepancy, omission, or error that appears on the physical face of those election returns.
And that phrasing, carefully examining, that implies a very specific manual action.
It really does. It paints a picture of a clerk, like literally sitting down with physical tapes from the tabulators,
Right.
cross-referencing them with hand tally sheets, checking those numbers against the physical voter rosters, and then independently building that final math report.
Exactly. And the legal analysis within our sources argues that localized control and this transparent human-level verification, that's the entire spirit of this statute.
It's at the whole point.
Right. The county clerk is legally bound to do the math and show their work.
Show their work, yeah.
And only after that independent preparation is totally complete do they present the report to the county commission, which functions as the board of canvass, for final certification.
So the local officials do the math, they verify the inputs, and the local commission signs off.
That's how it's supposed to work.
But the investigative reports in our stack include step-by-step procedure manuals and internal training documents provided to these county clerks by the state.
And this is where it gets wild.
Yeah, the process outlined in those documents entirely bypasses that localized manual preparation we just talked about.
Totally. The instructed reality is vastly different from the statutory blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
According to these training modules, instead of independently preparing the report, the clerks are instructed to take all their raw election data directly from their electronic tabulator.
Which in New Mexico are Dominion machines, right?
Yes, Dominion machines.
Yeah.
So they take that data and they upload those files straight into a centralized, internet-connected software portal called Service.
Service, which stands for the Statewide Elections, Registration, and Voting Integrity System.
Right.
And the training documents tell the clerks to literally upload the files and just wait.
Just sit there and wait.
They wait for this state-managed software to consolidate all that raw data from across their entire county, process it, and generate the Canvas documents for them.
Yeah. The clerks log into the service portal, they navigate to a reporting tab, and they literally just print out PDFs of the Canvas report that the state system generated.
Oh.
And then they are instructed to take those printed PDFs and present them to their local county commission for certification.
I mean, imagine a student taking a standardized math test, right?
Yeah. Okay.
The teacher's instructions, which is the statute in this case, specifically mandate that the student must show their work on the paper.
Right, to prove they understand it.
Exactly. To prove they know the mechanics of how they arrived at the answer. But instead of doing the math, the student just inputs all the raw numbers into, like, a cloud-based AI.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
They hit enter, print out the final answer the AI spits out, and just hand that piece of paper to the teacher.
Right. The student didn't examine the numbers at all. They merely facilitated data entry for a remote system.
Yeah.
And this fundamental shift raises a critical legal question regarding the authority of the certification process itself.
How so?
Well, if a local county commissioner is sitting on that board of Canvas, their statutory job is to review the clerk's independent work, right, to ensure it's accurate before putting their signature on the final document.
Right.
But if the clerk is just acting as a data entry terminal for a state portal, the local board isn't certifying the clerk's work at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They are authenticating the output of a centralized state software system, a system that they have no visibility into and absolutely no operational control over.
So they are signing off on the AI's math homework, not the students.
Exactly. The sources argue that this process effectively strips the local board of its ability to honestly and legally certify the election.
Because they aren't verifying the raw local data against physical precinct returns.
Right. They are just blindly authenticating a PDF generated by a remote server.
Okay, so if the clerks are abandoning their statutory duties to rely on this software, we really need to figure out what this service platform actually is.
We do.
Like, where did it come from, and how did it become the central nervous system of New Mexico's elections?
The historical timeline of service, as it's detailed in the source documents, is quite illuminating.
Yeah.
The software does not originate in New Mexico. And it wasn't originally called Service either.
Oh, really?
No, it started back in 2007 in South Dakota, actually, as a program called Total Vote.
Yeah.
And it was developed by a private technology company called BPro.
Okay, BPro. And the funding for this came from a Help America Vote Act grant, right? A HDAA grant.
Initially, yes.
Yeah.
Total Vote was really just designed as a centralized election night reporting system.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward to 2015, and the platform makes its way into New Mexico under the then Secretary of State Diana Duran, who was a Republican. The investigative reports detail a rather unusual sole source contract signed between Duran's office and BPro for just $60,000.
Wait, $60,000 for a statewide election software infrastructure?
Yeah,
That seems suspiciously low for government contracting, doesn't it?
it does. But the contract language explains the low figure. It explicitly states that BPro was, quote, gifting the Total Vote software to the state of New Mexico.
Gifting!
Yeah, and the company valued it at $1 million. The $60,000 fee was designated merely to create a custom interface, which the state initially named Iris.
Wow, okay. We've all heard the phrase, if the product is free, you are the product.
Yep.
Or, I guess in the context of data architecture, your data is the product. I mean, a private company gifting $1 million proprietary software to a state government, that implies an expectation of a pretty long-term, lucrative relationship down the road.
And that expectation materialized very quickly.
I bet.
Shortly after signing this initial contract, Secretary of State Duran actually resigned amidst a campaign finance scandal.
Right.
However, the software project persisted. And it expanded significantly under subsequent administrations, including the current Secretary of State, Democrat Maggie Toulouse-Oliver. And the sources place a pretty heavy focus on an IT and elections director at the Secretary of State's office, right? Kari Fresquez.
Yes, Fresquez spearheaded a massive proliferation of this total vote project.
Okay.
The initial $60,000 gift ballooned into more than $2.7 million in taxpayer-funded contracts.
Wow, $2.7 million.
Paid to BPro to develop and expand the system's capabilities. And during this expansion, the software was rebranded from Iris to Service.
Got it.
BPro itself was eventually acquired by another election technology firm known as Knowink.
Okay, so nearly $3 million buys a lot of code. The sources indicate this platform evolved way beyond just a simple calculator for election night reporting. Right?
Oh, definitely. The documents describe Service as an all-encompassing unified cloud platform.
Unified meaning what exactly?
It integrates directly with the state's motor vehicle department. It handles online voter registration, absentee ballot applications, the public-facing election night reporting, and crucially, the final official canvas.
Okay, wait. Let me make sure I'm visualizing this architecture correctly.
Yeah.
One single internet-connected software platform handles everything from a citizen updating their address at the DMV all the way to processing absentee requests, managing the live voter rolls, and ultimately spitting out the final official certified election results for the entire state.
Based on the contracts and the architectural overviews in our sources, that is the exact design of Service.
Wow. I mean, in standard cybersecurity practices, a system like that violates basic data compartmentalization.
It really does.
You generally keep a voter registration database physically and digitally isolated from live vote tabulation servers. And those should be completely isolated from the public-facing reporting website.
Absolutely.
If everything is housed in one internet-connected ecosystem, the vulnerability surface area seems massive.
And the cybersecurity experts and investigative reporters cited in our sources heavily emphasize this exact vulnerability.
I'm sure.
By centralizing data that traditionally requires strict compartmentalization, you create a massive single point of failure.
Yeah, a single point of failure is dangerous.
Furthermore, the sources note that Service isn't just accessed by a few isolated officials. It is accessed by all 33 county clerks, the Secretary of State's office, DMV personnel, and even outside third-party entities.
Wait, outside entities?
Like ERIC and VIP.
Okay, we should probably pause and define those acronyms for you listening, because third-party access to a statewide election system is a pretty major claim in these sources.
Yeah, we should. So ERIC stands for the Electronic Registration Information Center. It's a nonprofit organization that helps states cross-reference voter rolls to identify voters who may have moved across state lines or died.
Right, and now VIP.
VIP is the Voting Information Project. It's an initiative backed by the Pew Charitable Trusts that provides localized polling place data to voters through apps and search engines.
Okay, so to function, ERIC requires massive exports of the state's voter roll data, and VIP requires active data streams regarding polling locations and precinct boundaries.
Exactly. And the security argument presented in the sources is that integrating these third-party pipelines into the exact same centralized cloud platform that is calculating the final official canvas, well, it creates unacceptable risk.
I mean, if a bad actor wanted to manipulate an election outcome in the past, they would have to physically infiltrate 33 separate compartmentalized county clerk basements, right? Just to tamper with localized computers.
Exactly. It would be incredibly difficult.
But now they wouldn't need to break into a single basement. They would just need to find a single backdoor into the service cloud.
Whether through a compromised DMV login, a third-party API vulnerability, or, a simple phishing attack on a state contractor.
It is the ultimate keys to the kingdom scenario.
It really is.
But putting the cybersecurity risks aside for just a second, how did the state justify forcing all these independent county clerks to abandon their localized blueprints and adopt the centralized software in the first place?
Well, the justification hinges on a major logistical change in how New Mexico citizens physically cast their ballots.
Right.
The implementation of voting convenience centers, or VCCs.
Right. The expansion of service was running parallel to the rollout of these VCCs. So let's break down the mechanics of a voting convenience center.
Sure. In a traditional voting model, you are assigned a specific polling place based on your home address, right? Usually a neighborhood school or community center.
Yeah.
A voting convenience center completely abolishes that geographic restriction. It allows a voter to cast their ballot at any designated polling location within their entire county, regardless of which specific precinct they actually reside in.
And the public pitch for that is incredibly strong. I mean, it sounds great.
No, it does.
If a voter lives on the south side of the county but works on the north side, they can just vote on their lunch break near the office, rather than risking missing the polls closing while they're stuck in rush hour traffic.
Right.
It maximizes accessibility for the voter.
It definitely maximizes front-end accessibility. But the back-end administrative reality, it's a mathematical nightmare for the county clerks trying to reconcile the canvas.
Walk us through the math problem here. What actually happens to the ballots inside the machines?
Okay, so in a traditional precinct, a Dominion ballot tabulator machine only scans ballots for that one specific geographic area.
Makes sense.
When the polls close, the machine prints a tape, and the clerk has a clean, isolated tally of exactly how many votes were cast for which candidate in that exact neighborhood.
Nice and simple.
Right. But inside a voting convenience center, a single tabulator is ingesting ballots from dozens of different precincts simultaneously all day long.
Oh, I see. So you have like School Board District A ballots mixing in the exact same physical scanner as School Board District B ballots.
Precisely. And at the end of the night, that tabulator prints a tape that provides a grand total of all the ballots scanned.
Okay.
But physically separating those combined totals back out and manually verifying the vote counts for each individual distinct precinct, it becomes an incredibly complex task for human beings to execute by hand.
I can imagine. And the sources highlight a specific incident regarding this exact issue in Torrance County, don't they?
Yes. A citizen observer actually asked the Torrance County deputy clerk about verifying the numbers. And the deputy clerk stated on the record that it is, quote, impossible to verify the numbers manually, specifically because of the voting convenience centers.
Impossible. Wow.
And the state utilizes this complexity as the primary administrative justification for mandating service.
Oh, I see.
The argument is that VCCs make the math just too convoluted for local clerks to untangle manually.
So they have to use the software.
Right. Therefore, the counties have no choice but to upload their raw, mixed tabulator data to the service cloud. That way, the state's software algorithm can separate the mixed precincts and generate the clean canvas reports.
So they use the operational reality of VCCs to excuse the bypass of the manual local verification that's literally required by statute.
Exactly.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. Based on the technical specs we have in our own stack of sources,
Go for it.
the state claims service is completely necessary to do the math. But we have direct testimony from the hardware vendor that contradicts that claim entirely.
Yes, you are pointing to the statement from Stephen Bennett.
Right.
He's a representative for Dominion Voting Systems.
And he was asked point blank during a hearing if Dominion's certified localized software, the Democracy Suite program that actually lives on the isolated county computers, he was asked if that was capable of handling the complex math generated by these voting convenience centers.
And Bennett's answer fundamentally undermines the stated need for service.
Yeah.
He testified that Dominion's certified Democracy Suite software is fully capable of handling VCCs. It can parse the mixed data by precinct and produce the required county-level canvas documents entirely at the local level.
So the local certified hardware possesses the technological horsepower to untangle the mixed ballots.
Yep.
And it can generate the report right there in the county clerk's office without ever connecting to the internet and without ever involving the Secretary of State's service portal.
Exactly. It demonstrates a deliberate administrative choice to externalize the process.
I mean, if the local machines are perfectly capable of doing the math, why force the counties to push the data to the state?
The analysis provided in our sources argues that this mandate is driven by a desire to centralize power.
Right.
By forcing the use of service, the state effectively strips operational independence from the counties. It makes local election administration wholly dependent on the Secretary of State's infrastructure.
So the counties are transformed from independent, statutorily mandated auditors of their own elections into basically mere data collection branch offices for the state.
That's how the sources view it, yeah.
And this transition wasn't invisible. Everyday citizens actually caught this disparity playing out in real time, and they attempted to sound the alarm.
They did. The conflict between the statutory blueprint and the service-driven reality became highly visible in late 2022.
Yeah.
The source documents contain extensive transcripts and affidavits regarding the Torrance County Canvas Showdown. That was on November 17th of that year.
Set the scene for us. What happened?
Well, the Torrance County Commission was holding its public meeting to officially certify the midterm election results. And during the public comment period, two local citizen observers, Sherry Thigpen and Destry Hunt, stepped up to the microphone to issue a warning.
And their testimony wasn't just based on vague anxieties about election security, right? It was highly specific and technical.
Very technical. Sherry Thigpen testified that she had been present in the clerk's office observing the canvass process, and she witnessed a total absence of physical verification.
Wow.
She stated, quote, "They're not taking the tapes or any of the reports from Election Day. The Secretary of State sends the numbers to the clerk, and then the clerk punches the numbers back into the computer."
She watched the exact data entry pipeline we described earlier.
Exactly.
The clerk wasn't calculating anything, she was transcribing.
Right. And then Destry Hunt took the microphone and attacked the process from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, he cited the legal definition of the word prepare as it applies to the state statute.
Hunt argued before the commission that preparing a canvass cannot legally mean inputting raw data into a state portal, waiting for the Secretary of State to check it, and then printing out a PDF.
Which makes sense.
He warned the county commissioners that because the report sitting in front of them was generated by the state and not prepared locally by the clerk, signing it would constitute a direct violation of state law.
He essentially told them they were about to rubber stamp an illegal process.
Yes, he did.
And Hunt followed up his public comments by filing a sworn affidavit and formal ethics complaints detailing the exact mechanics of what he witnessed.
And an affidavit is a big deal. It's sworn testimony under penalty of perjury. But the fallout from Hunt's affidavit is where the documentation gets particularly compelling.
Right, because his complaints triggered public records requests.
Exactly. Which unearthed internal email communications between local county clerks and the Secretary of State's office.
And the journalists compiling these investigative reports, they characterize these emails as the smoking gun proving the systemic erosion of local control.
Right.
Let's read through the timeline of these emails, starting with Torrance County. The date is November 16th, so this is the day before that contentious commission meeting.
Okay.
Sylvia Chavez, the chief deputy clerk in Torrance County, sends an email to Kari Fresquez at the state IT department. She writes, quote, "Kari, can you unlock me, please?"
Now, the phrasing "unlock me" speaks volumes about the power dynamic here.
Doesn't it?
The local county clerk, who is statutorily mandated to independently prepare and control her own election returns, is digitally locked out of her own county's data by the state's software architecture.
Right.
She is forced to ask a state contractor for permission to edit her own localized canvas.
And Fresquez replies to the clerk, quote, "Your county has been unlocked. Please let me know when you have made the updates in service so we can recheck the report."
The state is positioning itself as the editor and the final approver of the local data.
Yeah, and the subsequent email chains show the state and the county going back and forth. They're fixing write-in votes and adjusting provisional ballot tallies inside the Service Cloud portal.
And this is all happening behind a digital curtain, completely out of view of the public observers and the local canvas board.
But let me push back on the interpretation of these emails just for a moment. If a clerk has a formatting error or maybe a typo in a write-in candidate's name, couldn't this unlocking simply be routine IT troubleshooting? I mean, is there concrete evidence in these emails that the state is actively directing the alteration of actual vote tallies?
To answer that, we have to look at the emails obtained from Roosevelt County.
Okay, what do they say?
In that chain, the communications show Kari Fresquez and another Secretary of State employee explicitly directing the local clerk, Mandy Park, to change her hand tally numbers for absentee and overseas ballots.
Oh, wow.
The state isn't just fixing typos here. They are directing the modification of the quantitative data itself.
And the timeline of the Roosevelt County emails reveals a massive procedural violation, doesn't it?
It does. The dates on the emails show the state was directing the clerk to alter the tally numbers after the Roosevelt County Commission had already officially certified the election.
Wait, after?
After. That is the crucial detail.
I'm shocked. I mean, if a local county commission, acting under their legal authority as the Board of Canvass, signs a document swearing that their election results are final and mathematically accurate, any subsequent alteration of that data undermines the entire legal framework of the certification.
Exactly.
If a state IT contractor can email a clerk days later and direct them to change the numbers in the database, the local certification is completely meaningless.
Becomes performative theater.
Yeah. The board is led to believe they are locking in the final tally, but the state holds the master key to tweak the database in the background whenever they want.
And these emails provide documented evidence of the disparity we outlined at the beginning of the deep dive.
Right.
The statutory blueprint demands absolute local independence and physical verification. But the reality is, the Secretary of State's office micromanaging, unlocking, and modifying data at the local level via service.
Which forces us to look at the legal and security status of the service software itself.
We have to.
I mean, if this cloud portal is the master engine dictating the official election record for the state, what are the regulatory standards it's required to meet?
Well, election software that processes official results is subject to strict regulatory oversight.
Naturally.
The sources point to both state and federal law. NMSA 197.1 and the Federal Help America Vote Act require that any election software used for canvassing must be certified by the Election Assistance Commission, or the EAC.
And the EAC utilizes a framework called the Voluntary Voting System Guidelines, right?
Yes. Software has to be audited by accredited third-party laboratories.
And what do they look for?
They review the source code to ensure the software accurately records data, doesn't arbitrarily flip votes, and is fortified against cyber intrusion.
Basic security stuff.
Right. But the sources state unequivocally that Total Vote and its New Mexico iteration service holds 0 EAC certification.
0.
None. It has never been tested against these federal standards by an accredited laboratory. It is an entirely uncertified, custom-built software platform processing the final election record.
So the system that manages the voter rolls, processes the absentee ballots, and calculates the official canvass is completely uncertified, and it's connected to the public internet.
Yes. And New Mexico state law, specifically NMSA 1-97.4b, explicitly dictates that any voting system that fails to comply with EAC guidelines, quote, shall be decertified for use in this state.
Wow.
Yet the state mandates its use across all 33 counties.
Unbelievable.
But the lack of EAC certification is only the first half of the security vulnerability outlined in the documents.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The second half involves the destruction of the original digital audit trail.
This involves the physical transfer of the data, right? Walk us through the technical mechanics here. How do the digital files actually move between the local machines and the service cloud?
Okay, so on election night, the localized Dominion tabulators scan the physical paper ballots.
Right?
That raw digital data is saved onto secure, air-gapped county servers.
Air-gapped meaning they are not connected to the internet.
Exactly. Very secure. But the next day, the clerks extract that raw data and upload it into the uncertified service cloud.
Right, over the internet.
Yes. Then, service consolidates the data, unmixes the VCC precincts, and creates the canvass report.
Okay, so once the canvass is generated and approved in the cloud, the data has to make its way back to the local county for the official record.
Correct. The Secretary of State's office instructs the county clerks to download the finalized canvass data generated by service back onto their secure, localized election computers.
Okay.
And to do this, the investigative reports allege the clerks utilize removable USB flash drives.
Wait, what? USB flash drives? Plugging a USB flash drive that was just connected to a public-facing internet portal into an offline, air-gapped, secure server is a catastrophic security violation in literally any IT context.
This is one of the biggest no-nos in cybersecurity.
USB drives are a primary vector for malware transmission.
Right. It completely bridges the air gap, rendering the local server totally vulnerable to any malicious code that might have compromised the service portal.
That's terrifying.
But the primary concern highlighted in the sources isn't actually just malware. It's the mechanical behavior of the file transfer itself.
How so? How does the file transfer affect the raw data?
Well, when the service system generates the final output file, it utilizes a naming convention and directory structure that mirrors the original raw file from the local machines.
Oh, okay.
So when the clerks drag and drop the service file from the USB drive onto the local server, the operating system detects the identical file names and executes a direct overwrite.
Are you kidding me?
No. The cloud-generated data overwrites the original raw tabulation data.
So the original localized digital record is actively destroyed and replaced by the uncertified cloud math.
Yes. And furthermore, the reports allege that technicians from Dominion voting systems subsequently access the local servers and systematically wipe whatever remaining original election metadata exists, supposedly to prep the machines for the next election cycle.
But wait, that presents a massive conflict with federal retention laws?
It sure does.
The Help America Vote Act requires all election records to be retained and preserved for 22 months following a federal election.
Right.
If the original machine data is overwritten by the USB drive transfer and the residual metadata is wiped by the vendor, the audit trail is effectively dead.
From a forensic standpoint, the chain of custody is completely broken.
Yeah.
Think about it. If a judge orders an audit or a recount months later, the investigators are not examining the original compartmentalized machine tabulations.
Because they don't exist anymore.
Exactly. They are only looking at the output file that service generated.
So the centralized system is auditing its own output. It grades its own math, overwrites the rough draft, and shreds the original data.
It forms a perfectly closed loop. And without the ability to independently verify the digital chain of custody from the initial scan to the final canvas, the transparency of the localized election process is fundamentally compromised.
Let's summarize the really extensive journey we've navigated through these sources today.
It's a lot to take in.
We began with a clear, unambiguous statutory blueprint demanding that local county clerks physically examine their local returns and independently calculate their elections.
Right.
But we discovered that internal training modules instruct clerks to completely bypass this law, acting instead as just data entry nodes for an uncertified, internet-connected cloud platform called Service.
Yeah, and we examined how the mathematical complexities introduced by voting convenience centers were basically utilized as the administrative justification to force this centralization, despite testimony that local certified hardware is fully capable of handling the process.
Exactly. And we analyzed internal emails revealing state officials unlocking local portals and modifying tallies, even after local commissions had officially certified their elections. And finally, we unpacked the severe security vulnerabilities of using uncertified software and bridging air-gapped servers with USB drives, a process that overwrites the original digital data and effectively erases the federal audit trail entirely.
As we conclude, we really must reiterate our disclaimer here.
Yes, please.
We have presented the claims, the timelines, and the legal interpretations contained within the provided source documents. These findings reflect the serious concerns of the citizens, observers, and journalists who compile them.
Right.
And we present this information to foster a deep understanding of the mechanics at play here, without endorsing any broader political conclusions. The value lies in scrutinizing the primary source evidence for yourself.
Absolutely. We are basically just reading the legal blueprint and pointing out where the structural reality of the building fails to match it.
Well said.
Which leaves us with a lingering thought for you to consider as you log off today. We live in a culture that prioritizes seamless digital convenience, right?
We do. We want everything instantly.
We want the ability to vote anywhere at any time, and we expect a meticulously formatted PDF of the results on our screens the absolute moment the polls close. But when the massive digital infrastructure required to deliver that convenience, like routing all voter registration, the third-party pipelines, and final tabulations through a single uncertified internet cloud, when that makes it mathematically and technically impossible for your local elected neighbors to verify the results with their own eyes, are we trading our foundational transparency for administrative efficiency?
That's the real question.
When the blueprint of our laws demands that a human being independently examine the foundation, but the system relies on a centralized black box to overwrite the data, who really controls the bridge? And ultimately, once your vote is uploaded to an uncertified cloud and the original digital trail is wiped completely clean, who really owns the final tally?
Definitely something to mull over.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Keep questioning the blueprint.